Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now. Alright, so every week it seems, actually every hour of the day it seems I get an invitation to some kind of new social network. This guy up here in the little picture-in-picture bubble would be no exception to that rule. A couple weeks ago, I got a stream of invites and mentions of this new social network called Gleamd, and even though I think it follows the Web 2.0 rule of dropping the last E in the word, Matt McInerney, boy, that's a mouthful, and hopefully I nailed the name there, right?
You did. You got it perfect.
Good. Has created, hopefully not just yet another social network. And
no, it's not just another MySpace.
So, if you can explain, and you can take about as long as you need, what Gleamd is, where you came up with the idea, and why someone would want to sign up differently than, well, as you said, MySpace.
And all the users get a chance to vote on it. And the idea would be if you submit all these biographies and names, the people with the most votes are going to be the most interesting, and they'll rise to the top. And we have a thing called the Spotlight, which is the top 5 most voted people daily. And basically the idea is the most interesting people are going to be there, and so you have a good place to go to find these people.
And I noticed on there you have people who haven't signed up for any accounts. That's kind of par for the course?
Yeah, so what it is you can claim to be someone if you have an account there, but you don't necessarily have to have an account to be listed. Because what's going to happen is people who are users submit anybody they respect, anyone they admire. So if you sign up, you don't have to submit yourself. You're actually not encouraged to submit yourself. You submit someone else that you think is interesting.
Well, some people don't like me at all, and they tend to sign me up for services. How could I keep from having my identity lifted on Gleamd?
You don't want to have your identity listed on Gleamed? I guess you could contact a moderator and have yourself deleted. That hasn't really been an issue, though, because it's not. I don't like to think of it as a negative place, really. If you're listed, it's because somebody looks up to you or someone respects you.
So then how does this compare to other social services like Spock, which I kind of grok, but not fully?
We're different. I think we're different from Spock because we have the aspect of voting on everything, so we have a pretty good way of filtering. Like if you look on Spock for people, you get a ton of entries over and over and over again. I've looked for myself on there, and there are like 100 Matt McInerneys, and there's no real way to differentiate between people. We're not really going to have that problem because we have voting to sort through it. So if you're, even if you have the same name as somebody else, you probably know who you're looking for because they're probably somewhat known or popular or something. So they'll have more votes than just some random, whatever. If you're John Smith, there's a popular John Smith and a not popular John Smith. It's pretty easy to figure out who it is based on voting.
All right, so this is kind of almost like a reputation network of sorts.
It is kind of like that. I think it can work as a people search engine too as we get more entries and stuff, but I do think it's a pretty good way of reputation for yourself, saying how many people have vouched for you on Gleamed.
How would that then compare to something like a Mahalo?
Well, Mahalo is kind of trying to do that for everything, and they're trying to pay people to give entries. We're relying on our users and trusting our community to do that for us, and we're just focusing on people. We're not trying to compete with Wikipedia necessarily. We just want to highlight people who are interesting, who are respectable, give you a place to go. If you are looking at the clues, designers, we have a designers channel, and you can find the top 5 designers for that day, the top 10 for the week, whatever it might be. You have a place to go to find these people.
What's the end game for you? Some kind of acquisition, or is this just more of a, let's throw some pasta up against the wall and see what sticks?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say no to an acquisition, but I think there's ways to make money on this too. One of my ideas is that everybody who's going to be on there could possibly have a product. So there's advertising potential, there's Amazon referral potential. But at the moment, we're more kind of seeing what users do. It's so young, we don't really want to force users to do anything they don't want to do. We want to see what they want to do with the site and take it in whatever direction it seems to naturally go.
All right, so someone was just asking in the chat room, just for clarification, and I typed it in, Gleamd.com?
Yep.
Gleamd. MD. So
you did drop the last E because domain names are hard to get.
So what were you doing, I guess have you been doing, or what were you up to before Gleamd was a gleam in your eye?
What was I doing before Gleamed?
Or still doing, you know, just in general.
Yeah.
Drinking.
I was a web designer. Drinking Canada Dry. No, I was a web designer, but, you know, I'm kind of a kid. I'm only 19, so I was in school. I was in high school just a year ago, but I've been doing a lot of freelance design, trying to start projects. Then this idea kind of popped in my head. I decided to run with it, and it's been pretty successful for being around for a month. Oh,
so you just literally, as I started getting invites and whatnot, that's when it all started. Just a month ago.
Yeah, it started around mid-July. So yeah. And just to be clear, we're public now. We started off private, and it was just me building it. We've built kind of a team since then. We released the second version. Now anyone can go sign up.
Oh, okay. So now how much time then is this going to suck out of my day?
Well, I guess you could spend all day there if you want.
Oh, sure, that's good for you.
It's great for me. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think there's a lot of interesting stuff on there. If you want to spend a lot of time there, you can. I've actually I find it a little addicting, which is a good thing, because you can go through all kinds of categories and find all kinds of interesting people you didn't know about before. And
well, then,
fun, and I think it's fun to do.
You know, you're definitely going after. I think it sounds like a good audience. You know, you're trying to attract people who look up to other people, so on and so forth. But then, how does that compare to LinkedIn, which tends to be a social network for professionals? You know, and there are ratings and rankings and whatnot inside of LinkedIn already. How does Gleamed really compare to that?
I don't think we're trying to nail the professional market quite like that. And it's not so much about your own personal profile. It's about who you're submitting. So it's more about respect, I think. And I like it that way.
Someone had mentioned... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, someone mentions that it seems like a wiki for people, which doesn't mean it's useful because you can already do that on Wikipedia. So do you mind responding to that?
One thing about Wikipedia is you have to reach a certain amount of notability before you actually can have an entry. We don't necessarily judge you based on, you know, how much press you've gotten or how much hype you've gotten. If you're doing something interesting, we're not going to delete your entry. And basically we're going to let the community decide who's interesting by allowing people to vote. So if maybe you wouldn't have passed the notability standards for Wikipedia, you can have an entry on our site. It's just the voting that's going to get you the exposure. So I don't think we're really competing with that. And also, it's not a wiki. Somebody submits, and we have features to improve an entry, but not everybody can just go and edit it.
Okay. So then, in comparison, I mean, you brought up Dig for people. Is this so? It's basically just a big popularity contest.
Which we're going to try to make it more than that too. We have a bar at the top called the Shiny Bar, which is going to be our algorithm for being more than just votes. Where if you have we have features so you can claim to be someone. So maybe how many people claim to be someone, how many people are commenting, how many links might be in that person's bio, and maybe how many votes. People favorited that person. So other things besides just votes, so we can come up with a pretty good algorithm to highlight people who won't necessarily reach the spotlight list.
Well, I hope I'm not there now. I mean, I haven't actually signed up for an account, but I don't know if my name's there. See, that's the thing, is like if I go look and I'm not there, well, either I'm not notable or big enough to be notable or notorious to a certain degree. And then, of course, if I go there, then...
I know you are there. I have seen your entry.
Oh, great. Great. See, everything that involves me on the internet starts out with Chris Pirillo. Yay, Chris Pirillo. I hate Chris Pirillo. Chris Pirillo. Chris Pirillo. Something derogatory about Morgan Webb is usually how it ends up. It devolves into a Tech TV Morgan Webb conversation, and it's always a derogatory remark at the very end. It's just I seen it happen on every web bulletin board with my name gets dropped or linked or something. It just not much I can do about that.
I don't think that's happened, but. I guess we'll have to look into the future to see.
Well, your site's still young.
I guess we're just waiting for it then?
Yeah, I'm just waiting. Well, someone already... people have been posting the link there. See? There's a Morgan Webb comment. I knew it was inevitable.
Really?
Yeah, it just always happens.
I'm sorry.
Of course, I did spur it on in this case, but it's usually, like a lot of the ex-tech TVers, if one person gets mentioned, then other people get mentioned, and people already make up their minds. That's the thing. When we know each other digitally, or sometimes, in terms of communicating by webcam, in these social network constructs, can you really know a person? You can know a person for what they've done, but really truly know that person in a very valid and very real sense. I don't know. It's a really deep social construct, but in any way is Gleamd addressing that?
I haven't gotten into it that far yet. We're really young, and we're more trying to figure out what people want to use the site for, and give it value based on what users are doing.
What's the framework?
So, we're using Django.
Oh, okay. So why'd you go with Django?
So, because the other guy who's working on it with me, Jack Moffat from Ziff.org Foundation and chesspark.com, he's a Python whiz. So,
well, that kind of says it all. If you've got someone who knows Python, that's pretty much the bottom line. You need someone who understands
it's pretty solid. So. I was happy with it. We started off with standard PHP, MySQL, and we recoded the site from scratch so we could have a better site, basically.
How long ago?
Really happy with it.
How long ago did you start?
Well, I started on mid-July. We started with the first version of the site, and then we just opened the new version of the site about a week ago.
So how long did it take you to rebuild it in Django? Not that long?
About 2 weeks, probably.
Cheese and crackers.
We've been moving really fast.
Yeah, I'd say. That's
one thing. When I say we're young, I really mean we're young.
We're
trying to move really fast to meet everybody's needs.
Wow.
And improve on all the features we've been getting as requests. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job of that. We've rebuilt the entire site based on feature requests. So.
Well, that's the whole. I think speaks highly to Django in terms of a framework. When compared to a typical PHP MySQL setup versus let's say a Ruby on Rails setup.
That was one thing we didn't want to fall into, is the scaling problems. We didn't want to fall into the Ruby on Rails Twitter thing where people start using the site and then we fall apart. Django's pretty solid. Python's pretty solid. We're using PostgreSQL. I don't think we're going to have those same kind of problems.
Yeah, see, that's the trick, in building out any kind of framework, making sure it's solid, stable, scalable. It's just a tremendous challenge.
Yeah, that's basically why we built the site from scratch. Because we had a good idea. We didn't have a solid framework for everything, so we basically pulled out a whiteboard one day and said, what does everybody want on the site based on the private beta? What do we think we should add? And we basically built the site from scratch in our heads and then went ahead and coded it.
Now, Django as a framework, have you seen it deployed on any other websites that have gained popularity? Obviously, you use Twitter as a classic example about how Ruby on Rails does not scale very well.
I know Pounce uses Django. And, I said Jack on chesspark.com. So chesspark.com uses Django and a lot of Ajax. And then we're also using a lot of Ajax to make sure everything works live and right in front of your face.
See, because I've been having this struggle myself. I just wanted to build Lockernome into a blogging platform, and right now it's using WordPress MU and it works, but it's just not clean. And then we consider going to Drupal, and that just seems to be questionable right now. And I know Django as a framework may be a little off the mark, but I know that I've heard it come up in several conversations. But I don't know if there's really a CMS framework in Django necessarily, like out of the box, ready to go, or if that's just largely in the developer's mind.
As far as I know, I don't think there is, but it'd be out there. We just use the framework. We didn't really use that kind of CMS. It's all custom built, which is how we wanted it.
Fun stuff. Well, as long as you know what you're doing.
We're trying our best.
All right.
Jack's fantastic, so yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on it. I tell you, there's a... Oh, hang on. Just a second. Someone's calling me to let me know that we've hit our 15 minutes so that we can close the interview and send people off to Gleamd.com.
All right, fantastic.
Thanks again, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's no problem. Thanks for gleaming me.
Of course.
There's a little gleam in my eye. See it right there? Actually, it's just a little schmutz, actually.
Yeah.